It's getting dark here now. The sun is literally setting on this election campaign, and I want to send things over to DC now. And joining us is Donald Trump's former Chief of Staff, Mick Mulvaney. Mick, it's good to see you today. So let's start off first of all with how you're seeing things when it comes to this race in the final hours of this campaign.
Peter, I've not seen anything to change my mind over the course of the last 5 or 6 days, and the conclusion is still it's going to be very close. Donald Trump did stumble a little bit with that rally in Madison Square Garden 10 days ago with a commentary about Puerto Rico. But, of course, Joe Biden returned the favor then and insulted a lot of the Trump supporters. So I think that was probably a wash. The momentum feels like it's with Donald Trump a little bit, although that's paused substantially perhaps in the last 72 hours. I think all signs sort of point to something being very, very close and maybe taking a couple of days before knowing who the ultimate winner is.
Okay, so let's zero in on some states. I've been reporting all morning, Mick, that we've been talking about the 7 battleground states. They're the toss-up states that will ultimately decide it. But there appears to be 2 that Harris and Trump are focusing on, although it's 3 for Trump today. It's North Carolina and Pennsylvania mainly. Are they the ones that you're watching closest? Give me a view of what will be the key state.
No, I think those are the 2 key states, and I think it's fueled somewhat by the fact that the candidates are spending all of their time there. We talk about Arizona, we talk about Nevada, and the candidates have spent a little bit of time there, but not much. It's almost as if they're going to Pennsylvania and another state, the North Carolina, then another state. They're focusing heavily on these 2 states. Why is that, Peter? These are purple states. These are right down the middle. They might have a Republican governor at one time. They might have a Democrat governor another time. They might have Republican senators, Democrat senators. These are truly 50-50 states, more so, say, than Georgia. I think Donald Trump will probably win Georgia by a fairly comfortable margin, but North Carolina will be extraordinarily close. If either of them wins both, if they win North Carolina and Pennsylvania, then basically the race is over. And I think the candidates know that as well, which is why they've been spending so much time there.
Okay, so you've got Georgia in the Trump column. Arizona looks like it's in the Trump column as well, purely on illegal immigration. And you saw him with that push today, with that threat to the new Mexican government to, stop or control the border. Otherwise, you're going to see increased taxes. I mean, are you putting Arizona on the column? Because if so, then that brings it down to 5, making the challenge for Harris much more difficult.
So here's where I've got it, Peter. You can mark this down just in case we make to the bookmakers before the show is over. Donald Trump wins Pennsylvania. He wins Georgia. He wins Arizona and Nevada. He loses North Carolina, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Wow. And once you do the math, that makes Donald Trump the next president of the United States by about 4 electoral votes.
Wow. Ooh, that's close. Okay, so Laura J's just spoke about the female vote today, and we're bringing up the pre-polling stats. So a shade under 80 million Americans have already cast their votes, right? But when you look at the categories, that's where it gets really interesting, because when you separate the parties, it's almost a 50-50 split when it comes to the Democrats and the Republicans. Still a lot of support for independents and third parties as well. But then when you look at gender, the female vote so far, it's way out in front. There's a 10-point gap favouring females. So you saw the Trump rally today. There's the Women for Trump signs. Obviously, the female vote is a big one for Kamala Harris. So could the female vote also decide this election effectively?
Well, I think it does. I think if Kamala Harris wins, it will be because of the female vote. It will be because of abortion. It will be because of women's dislike for Donald Trump. But keep in mind that early voting in our country is relatively new. We don't have a large piece of data, historical data, to measure against. And we still don't know that if someone votes early, as I did, does that mean that you weren't going to vote but for voting early? It just means you're voting early as a convenience. We don't know yet how it impacts the outcome. So, yes, we all look at the early voting. It's fascinating to watch nearly 80 million people vote early. That's a stunning number. But at the end of the day, it's unclear as to whether or not that changes the total number of votes that will actually be tallied on Tuesday night.
Okay. If you're right, Mick, does that make it the closest election since 2000?
I think that's about right. I think, there have been a couple of races where the Republican has won the Electoral College and lost the popular election. People say those are close elections. Donald Trump won easily in the Electoral College in 2016, lost the national popular vote. But yes, it just feels, Peter, like it's very, very close because the country feels very divided. Walk down an ordinary street in this country and half the folks are going to be for Trump and half the people are going to be against him. And I think that's going to carry through on Tuesday night.
All right, Mick Mulvaney, it's always good to chat to you, my friend. We will talk to you again soon.